Hello, everyone. Welcome today. We're talking about creative training, original ideas. We've got a good guy for the job today, Phil Farrelly. First of all, thank you for joining today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I know it'll be our pleasure. So it was a very easy invite to make. You are a man after my own heart in terms of I know when I was sort of starting out, I was looking at different ideas and I was trying to be playful on, and in the end, I couldn't really see that many ideas, so I started making up a whole heap of my own. And I know your brain goes to some interesting places, like mine did then as well, except very different places to mine. And that's what is really interesting about you and your ideas. So I guess where we should start is, I guess, why is it so important, in your opinion, that we get playful and get creative when we're exercising with clients?
Well, for me, what I've found, like, because I've worked in a corporate environment before, and you're not allowed to play. It's like you're not allowed to have fun, and that kind of like it's like a flower it kills the flower, it dies, it can't blossom. And I found that when I became a trainer and I started training people, and I started incorporating play, you could see people open up and blossom like a flower. And they would talk about they couldn't do things, but then when you added play to it, they could do it, and they didn't realize it. Did you know what I mean? So, and I think it just lights people up. It brings out the real person. That's why I think some of the reasons why I think play and creativity is so important.
I think that's an awesome start there. I remember seeing the same thing. People were saying, "Oh, I can't do this and I can't do this," and then you'd play a game and they're doing all the things and more. There's a saying, "Laughter is the shortest distance between two people," and I think kind of play is because people can be very stiff around each other when they first meet, and yet the moment you could pair them up and play a game, and it all just drops away, doesn't it? That whole kind of feeling of discomfort meeting a new person suddenly drops away when they do icebreaker sessions. I don't know why they don't just get people playing physical games like we would do to as an icebreaker session rather than here's a list of questions to ask someone, right?
And human beings, we're all about connection. Like we're not like when we're in isolation, we suffer, but when we get together and work with people, because that's what I mean. Like human beings, we need that interaction.
So why have you got into it? Like from a point of view of who you are, why have you got into it?
Because it's naturally me. I can't not be me, and I can't not be playful. My whole life, I've been incredibly playful. I did suppress that for a while, and I noticed that everything went downhill. And then something happened in my life, and I went, no, I need to. I was searching for answers and to come out to bring out the real me, and I've started to bring out that real me. And when I did that, I noticed that the impact it had on other people as well. Even people like in America, like small things that I was doing, I didn't notice that they were watching. So it's like I'm a catalyst, and then it's like a nuclear reaction. It just goes off in all these different directions.
Mm. You mentioned you've worked in corporate. So along the way, again, like similar pathway to me, I had like, proper jobs. And then you find your way to this thing that is so enjoyable that you wonder if it's a proper living. So how do you reconcile is the word I'm looking for. How do you reconcile between it being so much fun and maybe not viewed as a proper job? How do you reconcile that with either yourself and then kind of the wider world?
Admittedly, at first, I felt like I was cheating. Um, but then it just seems so natural, and that isn't even a question that comes into my mind. Because, like I said, I've seen the impact it has on other people. I see how people open up, like, and because I've done this even at work, like, because I work at the airport at the moment, and even introducing small things there, you see the changes in the people. So I don't have that issue with reconciling. Like, it's just completely natural to me. It's like breathing.
So what do you want to bring today in terms of, I kind of mentioned that you're going to share some ideas today. What, I guess the thing, set it up for us. Where does it come from? What are you thinking about when you share these ideas? What is it that you would like us to pick up?
Well, it's using that example of like being in that corporate environment. It felt very suppressive,
Yeah.
and then like going out into exploring this and seeing the changes that happen, and then actually teaching it to clients, because I've had clients where when they do this sort of thing, and even now I've got an online client now, all these people are coming to her saying what the difference that they see in her. And I've had people that ended up getting promotions for this sort of thing as well, because other people see the change in the energy, and they get all these people and all these opportunities get attracted to them. So that's part of what I wanted to share. And there's all these different tools that I have, like even starting from something very basic, like building trust with people. Because I like Brené Brown's acronym of braving, and you create that environment of trust. Like, because a lot of people are lacking in confidence, then they've got self-limiting beliefs. But when you create that like base of trust, it makes them feel safe, and then opens up opportunities to explore this kind of thing. And I love to do where you introduce a flow state. So it can be things like, as part of a warm up, you get them to mirror you. So say like two tuning forks, you hit one tuning fork, the other tuning fork vibrates in sympathy. So like having that connection with others, even in the warm up, getting them to be in sync with you creates that like a group flow state. And then even like, so some of the ideas that I had was, because people love movies, they will talk nonstop about, say, their favorite movie. They might go to work, talk about their favorite movie. And I know how to, you find out what a client's favorite movie is, and you tailor a workout based on that. So they're really connected and immersed within that movie, but then also that training session. So they're not only doing that training session, they're immersed within that movie as well. So you've got the music that goes with that movie too. So it's like a completely immersive experience. And that's something I don't see anybody else doing. And I've done that myself, and my energy just went through the roof. And I tested it with some of my clients, and they love it to bits. So they're some of the things as well. But within that, I get mindset training. So I've done some events with guys who used to be Australian commandos, and embedding that mindset within the training, you teach them how to use that in anywhere in their life. And that's where people in the past have ended up getting promotions by doing this, because they've incorporated what's in that training session, taught it to other people, even within their teams, and then they've got promotions. So they're the kind of things that I would love to share with the world. And that's what I'm passionate
That's
about.
really cool, mate. And I'd never really considered it before about changing a person to the point where they become someone who's more valuable to a business as a result. It's kind of like another bonus thing that I'd never put on the list of, things that are great about play is you could, promotion kind of thing. But I'm going to just
Yeah.
rewind a little bit there, because I know, well, we've got one person on the call right now, Leandy, who did this great, she's done Viper stuff and tailored it to specific music tracks. And she's taken us through one of those before on a retreat that we once did. So I know that movie idea I bet that's going off in her head right now. Anyway, I'm really keen on that because straight away I'm thinking Star Wars, right? Because you've got the music, but also there's so much great movement with the fight scenes, you know, the lightsabers and stuff like that, and getting out foam rollers and those kind of things. But that could that's an idea that can never end. That's what I like about it. Like those ones that that can go anywhere. Like they have an infinite number of possibilities based upon the movies that you choose and who you are in terms of your interpretation of that and what a client might come in with. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's horror or a cartoon, you can actually do something with that. So have you got examples of what you've done to a movie before to just to give us an idea?
Yeah, one of my favorite movies is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. So I've got a document on that. So it breaks it down into a lot of detail. So it's got it based on the sections like the movement preparation, like all the different stages, and it's aligned with the stages of the movie as well. And then I've got the music aligned with that too. And then part of it as well, it engages like because at times there's individual stuff and then there's at times there's stuff that they do as a group and you can't complete that part of the workout unless you're doing it as part of the group.
Are you going to give us examples or are you just going to leave us hanging there? Like,
So
surely you've got to tell us what you did to some of the bits.
okay, give me a sec. I'll bring it up. Okay,
Yeah, I'm forcing him to open the document and tell us, everyone.
and like I said, I've got the mindset stuff attached to this too.
And don't be afraid to throw a bit of that in as you go, so that you can tell us like, okay, then I did. It was this, you know, there was this bit in the movie, this kind of music in the background. This was the movement that I put with it, and this was the mindset aspect of that. Because I think a lot of the time people don't realize the layers to play. It's actually far more complex than you know 2 sets of 10 because you're thinking on all those levels. And I don't think I've ever, you know, in the early days, I don't think I've ever coached someone through a squat and thought of, you know, what music do they need for this? What mindset do they need to be in? You know, what visualizations are happening, and how do I make it so that it's actually related back to something they really love? Like it just isn't done. Whereas with play, we have these layers that we can do. We can be creative and playful and original and those kind of things. So give us give us a sample of how that might, you know, all the things that you're doing and thinking at this at that point in time.
Okay, so the way that I've done this particular workout is that I've got like stations set up and it's done in a circle. So they start at one point, and that's where you've got that first point is where they do the way they do the movement is very different to most people. I've incorporated a lot of the stuff that Commandos and I've done some online work with skills. So they do like a mental preparation as well. So I've got music aligned with that that's at a slow tempo. So it helps get them grounded in the moment. Like they do a bit of breath work, they do a bit of visualization of the higher self. They also visualize the work that they are about to do. They see themselves going to struggle, but then overcoming that, say you're pre-programming in your minds that when you do go to do the workout, if it gets hard, you've already overcome it in your mind before, so it makes it a lot easier to overcome it again. And then other sections I've got, so say for example here with the actual physical warm-up, so I've got music with a little bit higher energy there, and I would talk to them about like the actual scene in the movie. So it's like the opening scene where he's, you know, he's living his everyday life. He dreams a lot, and that's where I'm getting them to mirror me when we're doing the warm up movements to get that connection with them. And like the standard movements, like raising their heart rate, like activating key muscle groups, like mobilizing key joints. And I engage some of the Viper work I've done with the Institute of Motion in that as well. And then the next part of the workout is, say, catalyst, which is he's lost that negative. And I've got obviously music aligned to that as well. And then within that, I've got some single leg balance work and some core activation work, and I steal your idea on warding with that. So that's just like the instability is to symbolize his like tentative first steps towards a new path. And I'm talking to the clients about this as they're doing it as well. So they're listening to the music. If they know the movie, they're remembering the movie as they're doing this as well. So like other sections, like beginning of the real adventure, one of my very favorite songs. Like I get excited about this. It's the Space Oddity by Polley. And in that, I've done, because you can adapt this as well to the client. So I've got a bit of explosive cardio in there as well. To get the heart rate going. So as they're getting their heart rate, it helps them connect with that movie and the music, and with him beginning his real adventure. And then there's parts where like transformation through challenges. Obviously, awesome music attached to that. But as they're going through each stage in this, they're moving to a new point on that, like that circle I was talking about. So yeah, within this bit, it is like a functional training. So you've got the things like a suspension trainer rows, all that sort of stuff. So you're incorporating a lot of different styles of training as well. Like another section is muscle discovery and connection, because he can't do this on his own.
Can you repeat that again, mate? Because you went fuzzy. Another section is what?
I'll call it self-discovery and connection. So this is where his journey to find that negative, and he like finding Sean O'Connell in that movie. He gets a deeper understanding of himself, but to do that, he's got to get the help of other people. So that's where I've got teamwork in this section. So that teamwork, it mirrors, because I've got reading it off the thing here. So it mirrors, yeah, the teamwork and bonds that Walter builds with people along his journey. And that's where like this has got a bit of core work in it as well. So I got people lined up, passing a ball between each other, so they're getting that core work in. And you can include other stuff where people can do push-ups, you pass the ball underneath, and then the person, as they pass the ball, they're going around to the front. And if you want to get some friendly team competition in there, you break people up into two teams, just depending on how many you've got. And then you can do that. And then we've got things like where you're squatting into a deep squat position, you're passing a ball to the side and then running around. So there's all these different teamwork. So you will notice when you do this, even with adults, with kids, they're laughing and fun and they don't even realizing they're exercising. So that's some examples I've got there. And then another section is like a return to revelation. I've called it. I've got another favorite song there. So it's a Pina Colada song. So on returning, he realized his gone through a transformation. And he's realizing he's developed some resilience and confidence. And within that, like I said, you can tailor this to each person. I've got things like some heavy farmer's carries. And then you can pair people together for this as well. So you've got, as someone does a heavy farmer carry, someone does like a dead hang or a variation of that, or if they've got the ability, they can do pull-ups. And that's where it gives space to modify for each person. And then like further on down the track, so return to the starting point. So they've gone around that circle. So that circle was meant to represent like the life cycle, like life. It's everything is in cycles. So back to that starting point is where like you do a bit of a cool down and you reflect. Like this is where Walter was reflecting on his journey, and like both physical and emotional, and is where I'd be doing things like, for me, this is based on training I've done, like I said, with the commandos and online with Navy SEALs. They do the breathing control. Can't remember the exact name for it, but they might just be laying their back on the ground with their feet up on the chair, or they might be with their butt against the wall, with their legs vertically up on the wall, and they're just doing that breathing control. And that's where that differs a lot from some of the cool downs that I know other people do as well. And then as part of that, after that breathing control, because I'll talk about that, puts you more into that recovery state faster, you just return to some of the movement preparation exercises you do at the start. And this is where I borrowed this idea from the Institute of Motion, where they just they'd be like, you know, the deadlift with the left like internal reach or that sort of thing. So that's an example. It's not in full detail, but that's a bit of an example of how I've done it. And in each stage, I talk about part of the movie as well. And I've tested this, and the people that have done it have loved it. They think it's fantastic. And it's fun. Like you can see, I'm all excited and animated and engaged, and they got that too. But what I love about this is that you've embedded the mindset training within it. So they've gone on that journey with Walter Mitty, but then it also says to them, hold it, if Walter Mitty can do it, why can't they do that sort of thing in their life? And that's where all those little golden nuggets of that mindset training they can take away to their life. And then I also get my clients to learn what I'm teaching them as if they're going to teach it to other people, because they reinforce what they're learning and they're spreading value. So like I talk about that nuclear reaction, spreading the value in all different directions. So for me to be successful, I need other people to be successful and other people. Does that make sense?
It does, mate. I mean, my mind is exploding at the moment with the potential of movie-based workouts. Like, yeah, I think it could be an entire business brand on its own, and that's only one idea that you're presenting to us. So, we shouldn't move on from this idea because there's a lot to talk about. So, you have described there a session where you have taken the themes in the movie. So it starts off, it's negative, then there's a period of instability, then there's this period of kind of joy, and then it all comes back together again at the end type thing, right? So you've gone, okay, then there's challenge. I'll challenge on my so that challenge could be anything, right? Like it can be a series of exercises that people just know as traditional exercises, or you could actually do something that's tailored to the movie itself and take some kind of amusing movement or not amusing movement that becomes amusing because you do it, that happens in the movie, and make an exercise from that, right? So there's a couple of kind of things. You can take the themes and just do your workout, but say this is the challenge part, and it can be anything. Or you can go, all right, then let's do the story of the movie, and just and not even be thinking of themes, but just go, okay, then we can take bits from the story and we'll do things like that. Linda has commented, I love this, a workout based on a song about potential double infidelity. So with that, Linda, obviously this has to be one of the movements. So straight away, you've got this kind of way of making things ridiculously amusing and fun. But that I just did 3 or 4 reps of, and I felt my breath rate just start, right? So you do that for a minute, it would be both hilarious and cardiovascularly demanding as well. Do you see what I mean? So there's that. This is what I love about it. Do you have another favorite that you've done in the past, or one that you want to do?
As in I think just with the risk it's the one that I was going to get you to do following this offering.
Right, your connection has gone very wobbly, mate. We can't really hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm near the airport as well. I'm just flying, so our other internet connection goes a little bit. But can you hear now?
Still very wobbly.
Okay. I do have a truck outside as well, so maybe that might be it.
So let me just all right. I think before we carry on, Phil, Linda had a question that I reckon we should throw at you. Linda, do you want to unmute and tell us what the question was?
Sure. So this sounds like such fun, and I'm already thinking of my favorite movies. However, I'm just wondering, besides fun, it sounds like an enormous amount of work. So once you've rolled the Walter Mitty workout out, for instance, do you then have to put the Walter Mitty workout aside and come up with a whole new movie, or do you roll it out to various groups, or do the same one with the same group, or how do you do that? Because that sounds like hours of work for, one workout.
That's true, but there is a little hack you can use, and I use ChatGPT. So I'll put in a prompt to break down the stages of the movie and to align the music to each of those stages. And I got it to suggest some exercises to go along with that as well. And then what it spat out, I just tweaked it a little bit to suit more of the style of training that I do. But what I did as well is that I didn't introduce it straight away. I needed to practice it by myself just to make sure I got it right. But it made my own training so much fun, and I was so passionate about it that all of the work, it wasn't really work, it was play. In setting this up, the setting up is play for me, which is what I loved as well. So it's like a win-win-win situation. And I also had to make sure that my clients knew the movements in between. And then I introduced it I asked a few people and said, I've got this idea, would you be open to try? And a lot of people always said yes. So I trialed it with them, and they just loved it to bits. It's like anything in life, when you try something new, you are gonna fall down, but then you learn from that and you get better and better. So as much as it might sound like a lot of work, a ChatGPT did a lot of the groundwork for me, and the work was play.
Pretty good answer, Phil. So tell me, what's a movie you haven't done that you really it excites you, the thought of doing it?
Oh God.
Oh, by the way, while you're thinking, everyone who's on the call, could you type into the chat box a movie that would excite you to create something too? Because I'd have to do something ridiculous. I just watched Ted 2 for about the 4th time this week, and I think I could do an incredible job with a teddy bear as a prop along the way, because there's so much action and hilarity in that already. To then do a a workout version of it, it would just, the hardest part would be taking out all the swearing, really. That would be the hardest part. Linda says cars or Madagascar because obviously you can tell the level of her mind from that one. Hangover. Oh, Hangover would be really good. Nice one from Sandy there. That would be really funny. Anything coming into your brain, Phil?
I guess if you want to go into ridiculousness, which we don't do enough in life, something like the movie Bridesmaids. It's I
Oh,
don't know my
yeah.
favorite movie. I'm pretty sure it's called Bridesmaids.
You could, because you could bring props in as well. Like there are so many ways that you can take this. Like if you wanted to do this, so you wouldn't necessarily, okay, yes, it's a lot of work. So maybe you do it as a special event type thing, oh, you're getting ready for Christmas or something like that. You could bring props in and everything, and that would be the thing that you do for the whole week leading into Christmas. And there's, someone that you've got like a something that can act as a wedding dress for one of the stations, and there'd just be so much. And there'd be all these deep squats that you could do when she's losing control of herself in the middle of the street. They'd just be like, it would be like get your bum as low as possible. and there would just be so many awesome kind of things that come to my mind that are really challenging, but fun. And because they're linking it to a happy time, there's a lot in that. It's like linking in them back to happy memories of their own. You're linking them back to something that was enjoyable, mentally and emotionally enjoyable in the past, and you're adding movement to a memory that's already mentally and emotionally enjoyable, which is pretty cool. Okay.
Yes.
What else would you like to talk about today?
Well, I like to challenge and push myself. We could talk about, I've incorporated some of your myofascial mobility into the, Saturday night fever thing. You do a bit of a dance, but it's got myofascial mobility in it. And you just use a door frame. There was that, and you could be used as part of a warm-up too.
You use a door frame, myofascial mobility, to connect yourself to Saturday night fever.
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to say more, aren't you?
Did you want me to demonstrate?
Well, I mean, it would seem ridiculous not to get you to demonstrate, really.
Okay. I'm going to just slightly move. Let's hope my connection stays. I tested this.
We're all hoping your connection stays at this point, Phil. Do you need us all to kind of sort of do this to the screen while you're setting up with this help?
If you like, yeah. So how is the connection? Is the connection okay?
Even if it wasn't, you'd still have to do it.
Okay. So obviously you'd be doing this to music, and I teach because I can't dance, but
Let us be the judge of that, my friend.
Okay. So you've got I've got bricks here. That's my door frame for my kitchenette, so I've moved somewhere new. So it's better to music. So you could start with doing this. So it's like a bit of joint rolling.
Oh yeah, with a side to side. Yeah, cool.
Side to side.
So that's like a wrist roll with a lateral line mobility movement.
Yeah, and then instead of like pointing up, you can push. I'm not sure you can see my hips.
It's important we see your hips.
So this is like doing the front line, so pushing up, so creating a bit of tension, and doing the pelvis. Obviously, to music is more fun, and then you can change. So So
So
this back leg is meant to
you're
be straight.
twerking and holding onto the door frame there.
Oh, I'm pushing it to create tension. And then instead of the bit where it goes like that, he goes like that, and then that, I've tweaked it so you do the lateral line. So you go, you push, push, and then you do that. And then again, so you're pushing, so you're working that lateral line. And then pushing forward, and then you're doing the hips again. So I'm creating tension up through my body. So you got your warding there. And then you can swap to the other side as well if you like.
I'm sure you're creating tension in other bodies right now, mate.
But that's an example. I'm going to put you back to where I've got better reception. So that was an example of what you can do. Give me a second.
I think we're all grateful that reception held during that period of time.
Okay, but yeah, it's more fun to the music because you get more engaged with it. Yeah, and it's, to me, it's a fun warm up. And my heart rate is up a little bit. And like, we were born to dance as well. Like if you go back to caveman days, right, with feasts and famines, when you're feasting, you're dancing around a fire. So it's all like, yeah, heaps of fun.
Now, so now have pushed you out your comfort zone. I'm gonna bring you back in your comfort zone, but with a little side conversation.
Okay.
I want to talk about the drumming because there is a brand out there that does drumming on fitballs. You've actually bought a proper African drum, and I know what you've been doing is working on something that involves a full mobility routine whilst drumming, which for me sounds really exciting because the energy of that with the movements, I feel like they really naturally lend themselves because you can be wide stance, you can be wide split stance, you can drive with your hips in different ways. So for me, all of that whilst your arms are moving, like your thoracic area is moving, is really exciting to me. Tell us a little bit about that, and then there's another element to that if you don't talk about it, I'll ask you about it.
Okay, well, that's still in the experimentation stage because I've got something that I can have the drum. Actually, do you want me to go grab it really quickly?
Grab it, yeah. It's like a harness, I assume. Is it?
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, bear with us, everyone. It's just Bill's got some really interesting ideas as to where to take this and how it links back with a whole heap of other things. I'll let him explain, but
so where this came from was I went to a weekend retreat, and I had people in there that I didn't know they had social phobia, some of them. And when we all did the drumming part of the workshop, everybody opened up, the energy changed, and it was so much fun. So I've got this, I'll move it down. Like I'm in a very small space.
You're all good, mate.
I can see. So this is basically how it would look. And where I had to experiment was the position of the drum so it didn't hit my body. So this is the drum here. So it was things like, say you go to do the superficial front line, you might be like arms up. I know you can't really see properly. And then you come up, but then you have to just shift the drum to the other side so it doesn't hit your body, and your arms can be moving as you do that. So that is how, like, you can change this based on just one person using a drum, or you can do it as a small group. So they're all around the drum, they're all doing different movements. So the drum would be in the center. There's so many different ways you could play with this, but the intention of this as well, I'm not sure if this is what you were wanting me to talk
I think,
about.
mate, before you take it off, you've got to do some drumming.
Oh God, I haven't practiced it properly for a while, but
It doesn't matter. Do some drumming whilst moving.
whilst moving. Okay, so I haven't practiced for a while, and this is really pushing me out of my comfort zone. So not very good, I know. And you could
go wide stance. Go wide stance, say like a deep front liney type thing, and just kind of, you know, just grind on that thing, Phil.
So what I'm doing is
so it becomes about the drum rather than see what I mean, like the movement. This is what I'm really liking about it. The other thing that I really like about your philosophy, Phil, your PHIL-osophy, is you told me once about how this helps the world, and which sounds like a bold claim, but I just want you to explain where you come from when you buy that drum and what you're intending to use it for, how it links through to across the world and back to you and what you're delivering to an end user. Can you just describe that? Because it would just be a really interesting, I think it'd be nice for other people to hear where your mind is when you think of just that one thing of, I'm going to do a thing with a drum, like how much you've thought about that. Because for me, I feel like there's a lesson in that for a lot of us in understanding how things affect something bigger than ourselves.
So if you take it down to something very, very simple, one of my driving intention internally is like the one and all to flourish and shine bright. That's what I keep repeating to myself every day. So I just don't want me to be successful. I want everybody. I want the reach to be as far and as wide as possible. So with this drum, I learnt how to play this through another guy, so he's benefiting from it. But then he purchases these drums from places in Africa where they might not have much money. So these people make the drums. So they've got like, I'm also all about purpose. These people, their purpose is to share what they're passionate about. So they're passionate about drumming, about making their drums and things like that. So in another country, they're benefiting, which then means they've got the income to support their families and their communities. And like I said, the guy that I've learnt this from and I source these drums from, I really connect with his values and beliefs. So he's benefiting as well. So it's this, I think that is more beautiful, more magical, not just for me to benefit, not just for this guy with these drums to benefit, but the whole world. Do you know what I mean? That to me is really, really magical and beautiful.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of us can start pondering when we're kind of going into anything is, okay, now I want to do this. And then to realize there's options, because you could just have got a couple of fitballs and a you know, 2 pairs of drumsticks and started doing stuff. Whereas actually you're going, okay, then, well, what if I get the real thing? All right, I get the real thing. Oh, that means, oh, right. So these are made in that country. So that country, they're actually making something that is, you know, authentic to their culture and that they would like to share with the world. So they're benefiting from that. The guy who you're buying them from is benefiting because you're learning from him and also purchasing from him. And then the way you're then sharing that energy is you're using that authenticity to then put that out into the world, which will affect lots of other people, all in enjoyment. And that for me is where there's layers to that I think we can all kind of learn from, or at least be reminded that there's always a way of kind of doing something. The way that you do it might actually be really valuable to far more people than you. But also the energy of that is really different to you, just buying a job lot of fitballs from a Chinese company and
that's why I didn't want to go the football approach. I know that other people are doing it, but I wanted other people to benefit from this. And it's like a lot of us are disconnected from other communities. Like even within the community we live in, we don't really even know our neighbors. So this is also getting us to experience another culture, to develop an understanding of another culture. So we can, because a lot of us have also lost empathy for others and lost empathy for ourselves. This is teaching us as well. Like this is one of the layers, and why I get so excited is that it teaches us to develop empathy for others, and even down to ourselves. So you start small and then you spread out, but then you spread out and you can start small again. So it's like a heartbeat, if you know what I mean.
So people who are on the call, if you have any questions for Phil, put them in the chat box now. I'm going to completely desecrate what you just said there and say that Linda, because she loves Madagascar, has put, like, once she saw the drum, she's like, King Julian would love this. So can you imagine getting your drums out and giving it like, I want to move it, move it. I want to move it, move it. See what I mean? Like the energy of that, how fun that would be. So then you're combining the movie thing with the drum thing. Like I can't imagine it being more Phil than using like your idea with your themes, with stuff that you are personally energized by, and going into that. It would be a really kind of really cool thing. Leanne just said that she couldn't comment earlier because she was driving, but she'd like to try a workout on Greece in Phil's style. And I think having seen Leanne's work with just tailoring to music, I think she could do an amazing job. I mean, I got chills about it. Did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. God, I tell you what, I can't think about it anymore because they'll be multiplying. So, are there any questions for Phil before I wrap on this? And Phil, did you have anything else that I always kind of like to ask a final kind of wrap up few words. Linda says I better shape up, by the way. But she doesn't need a man. So no questions at this stage, but thanks, Phil. Leanne says. So yeah, are there any final kind of words that you'd like to leave us with that well, I should just leave it there. I don't want to guide you in terms of what we might want to hear. If you got any final words that you'd like to share before we wrap.
Just to thank you for letting me express what I'm passionate about. And I've got some of these ideas already documented. So if anybody's ever interested, just contact me and I can share them with you.
I think they'd love that. They'd love that. And also a short video of you in the door frame doing your thing. I think if you were to post that in the VIP group and just go following, popular,
Okay.
Here's my door frame humping or whatever you want to call it. And that would be good just to see how those things kind of play out, like, because we've seen little bits, but to see a sequence play out I think would be really good, just all joking aside. Linda says, if Phil does it, we can all share a clip of us trying it. So I think that's a pretty good deal, Phil.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I'll do it straight after this call.
There we go. So that's good. So thank you for sharing all of that with us today, Phil. You have a very original mind, and that's really what I was wanting everyone to take a peek into today. So thank you for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you.